The divine order can be compared to a mechanic. If you know nothing about cars, and neither does your son, would you try to fix your own car if it had a serious problem that required expertise to fix? Would you tell the mechanic, hey, I don't care if you have the know-how and the sense and the reason and everything it takes to do the job. I want my son to do it because he looks like me, and I want him to brag about how he fixed it. Nothing gets fixed, you pretend it's fixed, and you tell all your friends your son fixed your car. If you wouldn't do that with your car, why would you do it with religion? And if you do it with religion, isn't that saying that your religion means less to you than your car? And of course, there's other examples that are even less important to someone than their car. You pretty much wouldn't do that with anything else that is important to you. So therefore, every church, every religion, they don't assign much value to religion, nor do they to their family spirit, only to their image, their flesh, their bellies. So you are led by the golden calf, trying to eat as much as it can and kind of walk around in a lukewarm spirit. For this same reason, there is no difference between Satanism and Luciferianism in terms of punishment. When you crucify Jesus, does it matter if you want to make an image-filled society where all the depravity happens behind the scenes and you have people who are experts in presentation and propaganda and illusion, smoothing things over for the masses? Or if you bring in pure hell? You've killed Jesus, you didn't follow him, you didn't follow the divine order, and now you have to be punished. This is why man will be denied heaven. It reminds me of the true story of a man who comes from a long line of martial artists and righteous men from Ethiopia all the way to Biafra. After the Ethiopians sold out and they were forced through different wars, World War II, etc., civil wars, communist struggles with Mengistu and Haile Selassie and so on, they, over many, many years, and it happened long ago, longer than you might think, they lost their way, they lost their customs, they lost their cultures. The last ones towing the line were in Biafra. There were Ari in Biafra, and it wasn't the entire village. It was a small group of people. And of this small group of people, you know, eventually all of them lost their way, but one family. And of this family, every one of them lost their way, but one man. And then this man had a child, and of his family, they all lost their way, but that child. Well, the father was a brain surgeon. He gave away millions of dollars in free service to the same communities that would shun his son so that their children wouldn't have to compete with his. Some of their children only living because of that free service. This is America for you. This is crony capitalism. And certainly it is communism in the absence of God as well. Ungratefulness. The God that gave them life, they turn their backs on. May say, well, he doesn't exist. And then the man who gave you the Pharaoh, who gave you life and free service and love and poured his heart out into your communities, you turn your back on him as well. So now what is your excuse? Well, they cover that up as well. The evidence of God is there, they cover it up. The evidence of my father is there, they cover it up. The evidence that I'm the top martial artist is there, they cover it up. Why do you think people wore masks, cartoons, animation, anime? Because it makes it harder for you to understand who you're dealing with. On YouTube, I've noticed that you have the ability to look at the person in the face and say, this person is a man of God, or this person is a liar. There is illusion there. But we can still hear by the tone, the mannerisms. We can tell by this person what he's doing and why. Through his works, which can even be expressed on YouTube. In the absence of special effects in Hollywood, yes, we can. To a lesser degree, yes, but it's still there. If you are of God, why can't you tell that I am? And if you can tell that I am, why can't you understand that when someone who is of God says, I am the way, I am the Pharaoh, and I say, prove me wrong in the most logical way. And no one can. He's being persecuted. No one can prove him wrong. No one stands with him. He is the way. Period. We must default with him. That guy is the best man for the job. Period. Period. All your churches are wrong. Where were they? All your women are wrong. Where were they? The attractive woman who has been bred for thousands of years to be a petty, superficial slut. And I'll go through that process momentarily. And the less than attractive woman who understands a little bit more because she's not in that super privileged, brainwashed position. But she still doesn't want to admit that she cannot approach me either. She is not a suitable helper. You must transform mind, body, and soul and spirit. The harsh truth is that no woman on the planet is worthy. They don't have spiritual worth. They don't have moral worth. They don't have wisdom. They don't have honor. By God, they don't even have integrity. Eugenics comes from the terms good stock, well-born, good stock, which really is evil stock. The intellect is emphasized only. Intellect has nothing to do with morality. These systems are given to us by moral relativists and on record supported by secret societies like the KKK. On record, the KKK supported eugenics and fought the Catholic Church that resisted eugenics, and I'm not saying the Catholics are right about everything. So the upper class, greedy, selfish, shallow, unwise, cunning elite. They have the genes, right? Nature and nurture, mind, body, and soul, right? They're reproducing in that energy, that quote-unquote spirit, okay? Upper middle class breeding, sapiosexual movements, hypergamy, okay? Evolutionary psychologists and mental health supporting the social norms that create for hypergamy in a crony capitalist system, which is about cheating you out of everything, including your wife. And they'll also cheat you out of raising your kids. A lot of you don't pick up on that. You have been cheated out of raising your own children. They watch TV, they go to school, they say fuck off pops in their own way. Who raises them? Their brainwashed peers, the TV, the internet, right? And the school miseducates them. Where's the moral lessons in school? It's go to the office for violating our social norms, not for being immoral. Everyone's an immoral dog who goes to school and doesn't stand in the divine order. Okay? Sapiosexual woman. She's cunning. She's dumb and unwise. She's attractive. She's a sexy dresser. She's a conformist. This woman in the upper middle class, right? This is where most of them are probably going to come from. They're sapiosexuals. You're going to have these kind of lower class women who are looked down upon using the mainstream Western scale, the American scale, whatever you want to call it, mainstream society scale. They look down on the lower class woman, for better or worse. Okay? Then we have the geek, the conformist, fake, the conformist or fake nonconformist, right? He's not really a nonconformist. Anything that is conforming to this world is a conformist. To be in the divine order is the only way to transcend. Everything else is psychology, drugs, mind tricks, bitch shit. Bitch shit. I mean, way before I came to these conclusions, I got it right away as a child. I said, of course God favors the great warrior to some kind of sickly priest or some kind of Mr. Burns looking bitch, some kind of geeky ass motherfucking Bill Gates looking pussy. Of course, the Spirit of God is to be found in the great warrior with pure righteous indignation that conquers evil. We even see it in cartoons. That's part of their illusion. They have to include a degree of this because they know it is encoded in all of our DNA, good, evil, and in between. Geek, the conformist, fake nonconformist, the unwise, intellectual, selfish, lukewarm at best, and complicit. So when these genes and this mentality comes together with this one, and women are all going that way. Before I became skinny and all this stuff, I was tall, dark, handsome, insightful, from a good family, from a charitable family, from a respectable family in the most populated state. Trust me when I tell you, all, pan means all the attractive women go to scum. Every last one. Now, there are varying degrees of scum. How I define scum is somebody who's outside of the divine order. So where is the mind, body, soul, and spirit of God in the reproductive cycle of society? It's not there. If the righteous man settles, he is not following his heart. The heart is the seat of intelligence, courage, bravery. Heart go hand in hand. So you're marrying people that don't give a shit about your kids. They're selfish. If they did, they would trust me and be in the divine order and follow me for their families, for their children. Okay, they're selfish. They didn't have the heart to do the right thing. And you're having their kids generation after generation. And these attractive genes aren't going anywhere. You know, they're still in their DNA. So what we see is a long line of attractive, shallow, evil whores. And their children come out to be dumb, unwise, cunning, semi-attractive, nice dressers, conformist, complicit, semi-intellectual. Why? Because it is this airhead, sapiosexual slut who might be kind of smart, you know, marrying a total geek. So that when you mix the two, we're going to expect the vast majority of them to be semi-intellectual. Because in order for a woman to choose the geek with no heart in the first place, she can't be that smart. She's the one who's going to have the kid. She's the one who's more, who's closer to the kid more often than not. She breastfeeds him, she carries him in her belly, and so on and so forth. How smart could she be? She's a fucking idiot. You call this human progress? I call this lunacy. I call this the makings of serial killers in society. A bunch of spoiled brats who can never have enough, and a bunch of snake scum who don't have enough, who want to take from people who are vulnerable and people whose spirit rejects their Luciferian energy. That's how serial killers pick their victims. That's how. So, again, they're selfish, lukewarm at best, unwise, evil, satanic, hellspawn. Let's talk about strengths and weaknesses discovered. Through various obstacles, gospel, good news, senses, sensei, right? Senses, sensei, say, sees news, hone your able, honorable, hone or able, right? If sensei has sense, he knows that sparring, spear fishing, right? To avoid fight or flight reaction, to avoid being possessed by evil, poisoned, like with a poisoned dagger. To avoid being struck and to strike first. I'm striking the spirit first, not the flesh. They could have me surrounded. As long as I don't conform and I fight to the death, or I die in a way that's consistent with sacred morality, my spirit has conquered theirs, because by default the Spirit of God conquers evil. There is no way for man to ever conquer God. Righteous indignation and its spirit leaves me as soon as you do something to force it away. You zap my brain, you drug me, you kill me, blah, blah, blah. You're not killing the spirit. The spirit leaves right so quickly before that is not measurable. It leaves so quickly. It's like you try to strike somebody and at the last second he moves so fast you don't even know what happened and you're thrown off. And then he outmaneuvers you and cuts you open. Okay? That's why it's sparring, not brute force, not using sexual energy from the gut. And incidentally, it goes back to aphrodisiacs, Aphrodite. The gut and the health and the hormone regulation has to do with the heart, the gut, and certain parts of the brain. Okay, and they talk about the thyroid and cortisol and so on and so forth. So what's going on here? Okay, this is someone's ability to regulate their hormones, which has to do with a combination of things, mind, body, and soul. Right? Regulate your hormones and your desire to live and your desire to reproduce. Which goes back to the reproductive cycle. It always goes back to the reproductive cycle, right? Are you able, honed because you're able to, or you don't have the heart to? Why? Because you're a coward. So what we see is men's cowardice leading people, and cowards following suit, and that leads you to being evil. If you don't have the heart to be in the divine order, it leads you to being evil, okay? How much of an evil society should one accept before they fight to the death? And should they wait till they're struck? Okay, it's too evil now. They finally got me. Now I concede. Or do you see the trajectory? And just like a strike, the devil's trying to strike you. You see the devil coming, the devil's dart, and you outmaneuver it. You block it. You knock it away with your weapon, whatever you do. Okay? Avoiding dark contact and spiritual defeat. Spirit. Ra treat, tree at. Ra a or. Okay? Well, I'm out of time.